Hey guys, it's Bailey. Welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for tuning in to what is going to be a video all about my favorite foundations from 2017. In case you missed it, I already posted a video talking about my overall beauty favorites from 2017, I guess. I will link that right up here. Either click the eye and it'll pop up, or I will put a link in the description bar below. Bar, whatever it is. You know the drill. Just if you want to go watch something, dig down in the description bar below. But I wanted to do a separate foundation video for a few different reasons. First of which, we got a lot to talk about. The title probably says it all. We have 10 we're going to go through today, and they are all foundations that are either new, they recently came out in 2017, or they are just new to me. Because I have so many to talk about, there's going to be a wide variety from drugstore to high-end, powder, liquid, stick, you name it, it's all going to be in here. But I have combo skin, which can be kind of limiting to those of you who don't have combo skin and might be looking for some options that are better suited for you. So I am so excited to say that this video is actually in collaboration with SamanthaJane here on YouTube and MakeupByCheryl here on YouTube, two fantastic channels that if you haven't already checked out, you absolutely should, because they make fantastic beauty videos. They are so much fun to watch and they will absolutely bring some amazing videos to your subscription feed. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about my picks for combo skin. Samantha is going to be tackling her favorites for oily skin, and then Cheryl is going to be talking about her favorites for dry skin. So hopefully we have the full spectrum covered. Be sure and go give them a watch. Even if you don't have oily or dry skin, like I said, you will absolutely love their videos and their channels. So be sure you go and subscribe. Now let's go ahead and dive into the foundation favorites. So first I'm going to start on the drugstore end of things and work my way up. The first foundation I want to talk about is actually so new to me and new to drugstore shelves that I haven't even had a chance to talk about it here on the channel yet. It is the Physicians Formula The Healthy Foundation. This has an SPF of 20, it has brightening complex, and it says it's for all skin type, and my shade is LN4. I ordered this from the Physicians Formula website, so I'm not sure if it has made it to store shelves yet, but side note, if there's one thing I have learned in 2017, my one takeaway this year is that I'm kind of done looking in the what's new section of drugstores. It used to be my absolute favorite place to go, but I found I've just been spending so much time there with all the new drugstore launches, and more often than not, brands are releasing all the products on their websites anyway. And so many of them now have relatively low free shipping thresholds to where if you buy, 2 to 3 products, which I'm going to anyway, I'm going to meet that and it's going to be free shipping and way more convenient than actually hunting and going to each of the stores. So that is where I got this guy, in addition to another few products from their relatively new launches. And while I've only been using it for about a week and a half, which is a pretty short period of time for me to come to such swift favorites judgment, it was pretty much love at first use, which is also kind of bizarre because it's a relatively natural coverage foundation. I don't mean natural like full coverage but looks like second skin. I mean like it really does a great job at evening out your complexion but still leaves natural skin features showing through, like slight discoloration around the eyes, darker hyperpigmentation I might have around my cheeks, or freckling I might have around my cheeks. Typically, I like for a foundation to cover all of that up. I'm definitely a full coverage kind of girl. And yet I used this and it did such a good job at evening out my complexion, more so than a tinted moisturizer, but certainly less than a full coverage foundation. And I just loved how, per the name, how healthy my skin looked. As with any foundation, I can go in and add more coverage with concealer to those specific areas like my under eyes if I'm looking especially tired or have extra discoloration there. But there was something so refreshing about starting with a lighter coverage base and then adding more coverage selectively to those spaces that I wanted to, and the kind of look that created. And of course, as any foundation does, has to perform well too. So on my combo skin, I didn't notice it clinging to any dry patches. It wasn't excessively dewy in my oilier patches. It really just laid evenly across all of the various skin textures I can have and tend to have here in the winter time. And it lasted really, really well throughout the day, which for some reason is just not a quality I tend to think lighter coverage foundations have. So like I said, I haven't been using it for all that long, but given how finicky my combo skin can be in the winter and how beautifully this has performed so far, I really wanted to include it in this video. Next up is another relatively new foundation, but I have been using it for quite a bit longer relative to the Physicians Formula, and I've also talked about it here on the channel. So I'll be sure to link those videos where I do if you want to see a demo of the coverage or more information, and it is the Maybelline Superstay Full Coverage Foundation. This is one that when I picked it up, I had heard some of the hype, how people really loved how full coverage it was, and yet how natural looking it stayed on the skin. And so I was really hoping it would live up to that hype, and it totally did. I was very, unlike the Physicians Formula, this is very full coverage, and I was so impressed with how full coverage it was with just one pump of product. You really, I mean, 1.5 is even excessive for me anyway. One pump of product gives you amazing coverage across the skin, but I feel like it's slightly thicker and more hydrating so that it doesn't cling to any of those dry patches. It doesn't emphasize the size of your pores, and it just generally feels comfortable across all textures on my skin. And of course, as the name might suggest, it does last a very, very long time at that full coverage, fully intact throughout the day. So it was kind of a natural favorite for me. This final Drugstore foundation is not new. It is just new to me this year, and I am totally late getting on this bandwagon. It is even more full coverage than the Maybelline I just talked about. It is the LA Girl Pro Coverage HD High Definition. This is one that I saw a lot of people comparing to the Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation, which I'm actually not a fan of. On my combo skin, it kind of leaves it looking flat and dewy and, I don't know, just kind of waxy and weird looking. It's not a foundation for me. And so when people were drawing that comparison, I was kind of like, well, okay, now I know I can skip it. Something compelled me to get this from Ulta a while back, and I was shocked at how much I loved it. It's far drier than I thought. I mean, not too dry. Like, I still think people with dry skin can enjoy this, but drier or perhaps more matte is what I'm trying to say. More matte than the Makeup Forever Ultra HD, which is exactly what my skin needed, because the Makeup Forever would just get so dewy right down the center of my face, and this does not. It gives you flawless full coverage. It's a very thin, almost serum-y textured foundation, so you can easily build it up with super thin layers, so it stays looking natural, but you can really build that coverage. I think the texture actually is the main difference between these two. The Maybelline is a little bit thicker, whereas the LA Girl Pro Coverage, I could go in with a couple of pumps of this stuff to really layer it up in specific areas, whereas the Maybelline, like I said, one pump and you are good to go. So choosing between the two, I think, comes down to that difference, maybe a preference in texture, and then also coverage. I do think the LA Girl is even more full coverage, even just a hair more full coverage than the Maybelline. All right, so those are my drugstore picks. Now I want to talk about some powder foundations. In 2017, I did my best to explore so many different powder foundations so that I could do a roundup and kind of share my absolute favorites, my absolute not so favorites, and everything in between. Turns out I missed a ton of powder foundations out there, so there might be another one of these coming in 2018. But of those that I tried, the two that I really, really liked and used off and on really ever since I've gotten them, especially in the summer, like I only wore powder foundation in the summer, have been these two. The first of which is Cover FX. This is the Pressed Mineral Foundation, and mine is in the shade N35. This guy is so buildable. You can get this beautiful full coverage. It stays like satiny matte all throughout the day, especially for me and my combo skin in the summer months. This was so crucial, and it's just unbelievable how full of a coverage you can get without it looking too heavy and too cakey like so many. I feel like when I was growing up, I always associated powder foundations with heavy, cakey textures and looking really unnatural and crepey around your like delicate eye area or your mouth, and that is just so not what either of these are. The Cover FX I find is a little smoother, a little bit more emollient, if that makes, it feels a little bit more hydrating compared to the Kat Von D, which I love for all of the same reasons, but I do think this would be better for more of an oilier skin type, just because it tends to, for me, have a little bit of a drier texture. So the Cover FX can take me more into the drier buns because it's just a little bit more hydrating, whereas the Kat Von D is a little bit drier, a little bit more powdery, and this was my go-to in the dead of summer when it was so hot and it took everything to control excess shine and, let's be honest, sweat. Like, I'm in Texas, your makeup wants nothing more than to just melt right off your face in the middle of summer, and so this was such a treasure to have on hand to keep it in place. And what's great about both of these is they not only serve as full coverage like all over foundations, but you could also just apply them lightly if you want to add some additional coverage in smaller areas of your face, and you want to keep those areas matte and your makeup staying in place there. I really love these for that as well. It's like just a step beyond like a translucent setting powder because it gives you that coverage, but it's going to even out any texture and really keep your makeup set in place. So if you're looking for some powder foundations, these are amazing. While we're talking about non-liquid foundations, I feel like now would be a good time to bring up my favorite stick foundation. This is the Lancome Teint Idole Ultra Wear Makeup Stick, and I applied to try this for free through Octoly. If you're not familiar with what that is, I will link it down below. But I love a good stick foundation for travel. You just don't have to worry about them spilling, because even if you do keep them in your liquids bag, then everything in there is covered in foundation, and you're left without a foundation. It just eliminates a lot of that kind of stress from your travels, but I never want to feel like I'm having to sacrifice by packing my travel foundation. And so I'm always looking for an amazing stick foundation that I can take on the go, even if it's just in your purse. If you're not traveling long distances, but you want to just take something to touch up with, stick foundation is amazing. I really, really like the Makeup Forever Ultra HD stick foundation, ironically, but it can get a little dewy on my combination skin. So it's definitely one of my favorites, especially for drier months, but it definitely got knocked down from the #1 position of my favorites of stick foundations when I tried this. This sets to a complete powder finish, so it's amazing for those of us with combo skin who want to just kind of keep that shine in the center of our face at bay, but it's not so dry that it, you know, clings to any dry patches around the perimeter of my face. It's such a beautiful buildable coverage that you can really easily layer it up. I go in like kind of all over my face, I blend it in, and then I will go back in with it in places where I feel like I want more coverage, like my under eye areas, any blemishes I might have or want to cover up, and I go and pack more of that in there. And no matter how much I layer, I mean, obviously there are limits, but even with my layering, which can be pretty heavy-handed sometimes, it never looks too full coverage, too unnatural, too cakey, or anything like that. I actually loved it so much that this is my second one. I used up my my first one that I got from Octoly and went ahead and purchased a second one from one of the Sephora VIB sales, or when I had a coupon to Sephora, because while it is pricey, again, it's an amazing foundation. A foundation, one that you just don't feel like you're having to sacrifice because it's your travel foundation. Alrighty, back onto liquid foundations. 4 more left in this video. And this is kind of a funny one. Again, it's not one of those that is new to shelves, it's just new to me, and it's actually a rediscovery for me, thanks in large part to Samantha. It is the Becca Ultimate Coverage Complexion Cream, and I first bought this from Haute Look years ago, was not happy with it. It was like this clumpy, moussey mess that just looked way too apparent as foundation on my skin. Wasn't a good shade match. Overall, bad experience. And then I see her talking about this in a couple of videos, and it looks gorgeous on her skin. And I'm like, surely that maybe they reformulated, but that is not the same foundation that I tried when I bought that. So again, I saw it on Octoly, I applied to try it, and boy, has it changed. I don't know if it was just a reformulation, if I got a bad batch. Something was wrong with that foundation, because this stuff is amazing. It has a thicker, almost mousse-like texture, so I find that gives my skin like this beautiful soft focus matte effect that then keeps that matte finish all throughout the day, especially in warmer months where you need to preserve that, you know, kind of matte finish down the center of your face, but still that moussey texture really lays softly over any dryness that I might have on my cheeks. It's just a really, really beautiful finish and full coverage if you want to build it to be that way. The next two are new foundations, and I love them for a lot of the same reasons, so I feel like it makes sense to talk about them together here. The first of which is the Huda Beauty Faux Filter High Coverage Foundation. This is in the shade Custard, or 220N, and the other is, of course, the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Soft Matte Foundation, and mine is in the shade 210. I tried 220 and it was a hair too deep for me. I love both of these because of how amazingly full coverage they are. Again, very easily buildable, and they lay evenly across any kind of texture my skin can throw at them, while also maintaining a nice matte finish down the center of my face and the oiliest part of my face, and they just don't budge throughout the day. The main difference between the two is that I find the Huda Beauty to be a lot drier than the Fenty Beauty. This, if you are a combo skin girl, you might find you have to powder down the center of your face to make absolute sure it preserves that soft matte effect, whereas the Huda Beauty is so, I mean, it dries down to such a full-on powder finish. You have no worries about this developing excess shine, but you might need to worry about it clinging to your dry patches. So it just really depends on the landscape of your skin texture, basically, and maybe the severity of your skin texture differences as someone with combo skin. If you tend to lean more on the oilier side, the Huda Beauty is going to be for you, whereas if you are more on the the dry side, I think the Fenty is gonna be best for you. Or what you can do, and what I found I really like to do on days when my skin kind of flip-flops and it's just, I don't even know where it's going, is mix one of these with the primer. I have both the Huda Beauty primer and I have the Fenty Beauty primer as well. Both of them work beautifully if you just mix them directly in with the foundation. It doesn't really sheer them out too much. It just adds a little bit more slip, and I hate slippery silicone primers. Neither of these primers are like that. So you don't have to worry about it like falling off of your face just because you added the primer. It just adds a little bit of something extra to help them blend and smooth evenly across the skin. And the last foundation, foundation number 10, is I think it is actually the oldest, not actually oldest, but like the foundation's been around the longest out of any of those that I'm gonna talk about today. So it's definitely not new, it's just new to me, and I cannot believe it's taken me this long to try it, especially given how MAC focused YouTube was in the early days. It is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid. Mine is in the shade NC25, and this is another one that I applied to try through Octoly just because I was looking at it like, you know, I probably should get around to trying it because it's one of those cult classics that like built the YouTube beauty community back when everyone was all about MAC, and here I am having never tried it. I did, and I get what the fuss is about. It is such a versatile liquid foundation. You can put a sheer coverage of it on your face, kind of to where it looks like the Physicians Formula, but it's a little bit more dewy. I do find I have to set it there. Or you can build it up to this amazing full coverage, but it still maintains that really second skin looking appearance to it. I think of all the videos in 2017, I have gotten the most compliments when I wear this in videos. And I don't specify what I'm wearing. It's just one of those where you guys will say, wow, your skin looks really good. Like it's just flawlessly covered, but it looks really natural. What are you wearing? It's been this in most of those videos. And so I definitely think it speaks to just how beautiful but still natural looking the coverage is. Plus, when you have that ability to build it, you know, kind of do sheer coverage, but really build it up to get a natural looking full coverage, that's just amazing to have in a foundation. When it comes to warmer months, like I said, it has kind of a dewier finish. So in the drier months, totally good on my combo skin. In the warmer months though, I do find I need to powder, especially just down the center of my face, but for the finish this gives, man, worth it. And those are my 10 favorite foundations from 2017. I feel like I've been talking your ear off, so I will stop, but I do recommend, again, you go check out SamanthaJane's video and MakeupByCheryl's video. Even if you don't have their skin types, all of their videos are so packed with tips and tricks and information that are valuable no matter what type of skin you have. So definitely go check them out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys.